Hey everyone, how's it going? Thank you for coming to class and welcome to the geography class. I am your host today, as usual, teacher Parit Chayasak. I hope everyone is doing fine, and I hope you still remember for what we have learned from last week. Okay, to begin from we left over last week, which is we discussed about the geographical instruments and we focus on map, what the map is, how we use the map, and what are the benefits from the maps. I hope you still remember. And today we're going to continue on in the geographical instruments, but we're going to talk about other important instruments. So, shall we begin? All right. So, I want you to pause the video and take a look at these two pictures. They are the represent of the Earth's surface, but these two are not the same. Can you tell what are these two are? Okay, pause the video, take your time. All right, so if you got your answer, let's take a look what are these two pictures is. Again, the answer is on the top is the aerial photograph, which is this one, and this one is satellite image. Okay, so what are the differences between these two? They are the picture of the surface of the Earth, but one is the aerial photograph, one is the satellite image. So to answer these questions, we need to understand what is the aerial photograph and what is the satellite image. Okay, let's begin with the aerial photography first. So, aerial photography is a photograph of Earth's surface using camera that installed on the aircraft. Okay, can you guess what are those aircraft were installed with a camera to capture and collect the data of the aerial photograph? I believe you all know, and can you guess? Number one, of course, the airplane. So the airplane is the aircraft that will fly by man. And what we do is we're gonna install the camera on the airplane and fly over the surface or the area we want to document it. So we use the camera to capture the photos of those areas. And the other aircraft is drone. There are varieties of drones, and nowadays drones are so cheap that people are able to afford. They are not large and they are more efficient. So we can fly the drone. Drone is the unmanned aircraft, so we don't need the man to fly on it, but we can control it from elsewhere. So the drone also be able to attach the camera and capture the photo of the area. And the other one is balloon, but maybe back in the times when the airplane and of course the drone has not been invented or made efficient like we have today. The balloon is the choice of the observer that they flew over the surface and then they capture the photos of that area. And in this department, for Thailand, we have Royal Thai Survey Department, the responsible in producing the aerial photograph in Thailand for official use. If you think, oh, I couldn't find any photograph, an aerial photograph that were made official, of course, these were used in the government official business. So they have to be permitted in order to use. Okay, so here, this is what we are looking at is the unmanned aircraft, or in this case is a drone. However, this is the strike drone, okay, that were famously used by the military, but this one is equipped with the only survey camera. This right here is a camera for collecting or capturing the photos of the survey area. And if you can't see any weapons on this drone is specifically for survey usage. And there are other camera as well and sensor for the pilot to fly over the drones from a remote area. Next is the types of aerial photograph. So as you can see earlier, the photos of the aerial photograph that I shown to you, they are something different from each other, and there is an explainable reasons, because the aerial photograph can describe into two types. Number one is the vertical photograph, which is capture or photograph from a vertical view of a surface. The other one is oblique photograph, is a capture or photograph from oblique view of the surface. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit. The word aerial photograph in Thailand we call รูปถ่ายทางอากาศ. Okay, we use the word รูป, and again there is an explanation for that. So aerial photograph must be captured using the camera, which is use the lens to reflect the light of the surface and then create a picture, or not the picture, a photograph. So for vertical photograph, we have the camera angle is oblique within plus or minus 3 degrees from above. So the plane fly over and the camera point down in the vertical angle, and then within the vertical angle, the camera must not tilt more or less than 3 degrees. Okay, so this is considered as the vertical photograph. It can create a 3D photograph by looking through the stereoscope. So if you don't know what the stereoscope is, we will show in the other slide. But this is the specialty of the vertical photograph. We can create a 3D photograph from the photo that were captured in the vertical photograph methods. For the oblique photograph, we can separate into two oblique photographs. So the first one we call the high oblique photograph, which has the camera angle at 60 degrees. And the other one, of course, in the opposite of high is low. So low oblique photograph has camera angle at 30 degrees. So this is vertical photograph. So as you can see, we are directly above the surface and the camera is pointed toward the surface in vertical manners. In this case, if you put the picture, for example, over here, right? You capture one picture with this full frame picture, the full frame. Okay, and then another picture that has the overlap area over here, and then on the right side is another part of the area. This overlap area, when we look to the stereoscope or we use the computer to analyze, this overlap area can create a 3D effect. So for example, if in this building, you can see the shape of the building, you can see the depths, the elevation, or if we have a river, you can see the wave of the water is when it's moving. So that is the effect from using the stereoscope to create a 3D effect of the photograph. And right here, my friends, this is the stereoscope. So this is quite the very earlier versions. So what we do is these two are the holes where you put both of your left and right eyes to look at the picture. And again, as you can see, these are two pictures with the identical uh, identical frame and objects shown in the picture. So they use two of the right eyes view to overlap the picture. When the eyes project two pictures, it creates a 3D effect. So I believe you have used this. It's the stereoscope when you were kids. Probably your parents bought you one, and it's very popular to see a 3D picture. But if it was to be a aerial photograph in the vertical photograph to create a 3D effect, they will use these same methods, but more advanced and more modern stereoscope. All right, this is the high oblique photograph. As you can see, the angle of the camera is tilting or leaning more, so it can capture both the landscape and the sky, the areas, so it creates wider view. Next is the low oblique. The low oblique, as you can see, the angle of the camera is less, which is its point toward the surface to show the landscape. So it's really hard or not impossible to see the sky within this technique. Now we talk about the aerial photograph. We're going to talk about the satellite image. So what is the satellite image? Oh, of course, it's a photo made by the satellite, right? It's correct and not correct. So basically, satellite image is an image of the Earth's surface, which is collected by the device installed on the satellite orbiting Earth. But there is a catch. Satellite detects and captures reflection of light and electromagnetic radiations on Earth's surface that were transferred from the sun. So when the sun ejects its radiation toward the Earth, when these electromagnetic radiations were able to hit the surface of the Earth or objects or whatever on the Earth and reflect back, that reflect energy will be captured or detected by the satellite. And when the satellite detects this, it records the data it's able to capture. So satellite image, it's a digital data, consists of pixels that form into image. But again, when you print this image out, it will be visible same as the aerial photograph. So you can't detect the differences of the aerial photograph and satellite image when it were printed on the paper. But you can see the differences in the computer unless the camera that the aerial photograph used were digital camera. In that matters, it cannot be it will be the same as the satellite image because the pixel or what we know as the resolution, that is the pixel, the numbers of pixel it projects. The more pixel, the more higher quality image or photo it gets. Okay, can you take a look at these two pictures? They are the same area, and let me tell you, this is the example of the satellite image, These images were created by the satellite, which is capture the reflections of the electromagnetic radiations. Okay, so I want you to observe what are the differences between these two pictures. So as we can see right away here, this part is more darker, right? This part too, okay, so it's not dark in here, it's not dark in here, it's not dark over here. What else do we detect it except from this dark color? What about these? Can you see this small spot like this? Yeah, the one that white dot, white spot. This is the boat or the ships that will travel along in this area. So this is the image that shows the effect of the coronavirus. So as you can see here, this image were created on the April 19, 2019, and this image were created on April 13, 2020, right? So as you can see in the canal, there are no ships or less ship is traveling, so it's just couple 1, 2, 3, right? 4, yeah, just only 4 boats or 5 boats were able to visible in the image, but compared to here there are more than 10s, 20s, or even almost 100 so the ships traveling around this area. Why are we comparing this? So another benefit, another uses of the satellite image is to compare the change of the surface of the earth, both to study the nature and to study humans, cultures. What are the differences from today's and the past, which is able to tell us more information about humans in geographies. So this is the satellite that we use to orbiting the Earth, and then it whatever it's here, there is a sensor. It can be a camera lens, it can be a electromagnetic sensor such as infrared, microwaves, so on and so forth. It uses this sensor device capture those energy that reflects back to Earth. Okay, so it reflects from the Earth's surface and come back here. The satellite will capture those energy and then it will produce in a digital information and then sent back to Earth for further analysis. So the usage of satellite image. There are topographic studies. So what is topographic studies? Topographic study is basically we study about the terrains, the topography of the Earth's surface. In this case, the uses of satellite image, we are focusing on what Thailand were doing with the satellite image. So number one is study about the topographic studies. Learn about the elevation, the terrains, the shape of the area within Thailand. Next is geology studies. So geology studies is the studies now more specific, such as the study about the change or the effect from the earthquake, study about the land, about how it's formed, how it's changed over the years. So this is the usage that geology studies use from the satellite image. So it's really hard to take a look from the close angle, but it was easier to compare when we look in the wider or higher angle. So which is satellite image is providing more convenience and easier studies on geology studies, but for further details or specific detail they have to go on site to be able to capture from what they found on the satellite image. Next is Oceanography and fisheries. So oceanography and fisheries, this is very highly used in the satellite image. Why? Because when they study about the change in the ocean and seas, the satellite image can detect not only the picture, it can even detect the clearness of the water in the oceans. They can detect where the fish are, they can detect the waves, they can detect the currents of the ocean, and this information is very useful and very helpful in predicting the fish resource for the fishermen. They can use by the weather broadcast, weather prediction, which is the current of the water in the ocean can also influence in the change in temperature, in the change in weather or climates of the earth, such as we study about the hurricanes. Okay, so this information is widely used on the satellite image. Another usage is the land use. So land use, it's really hard to manage the land when they are very big, such as when you try to study all over the countries or some province, some regions, or even some district. It's need to go on the airplane, and when you go on the airplane, still the aerial photograph were created, but it's not wide enough, unlike the satellite image. So the satellite image provide wider angle and wider view from the aerial photograph. And land uses such as the Department of Land that can use the satellite image to form up the information they need, such as they select the land that were used for agricultural, the land that were used for uh, residential, the land for industrial, and also another department that used the satellite image for land usage, such as Department of Agricultural Extension, which is the department that I used to work a couple years ago. And what they do is they use the satellite image and the data from the um, farmer registration, which is they use the farmer or the agriculture to register what they did and the location or the address where they live and where the plantations or the agriculture were, and then put it in the map or the satellite image to create a map showing which area is growing which types of plants, which types of agriculture, and it's giving them much better information in order to create a management and policy planning to support further the agricultural sector of Thailand and farmers. Next is archaeology. So archaeology can study the change in histories throughout the times from the past, what are the people is doing and what are the people is doing today, what have been effect from times to time, like the building that used to be in the past but no longer exists today, and what caused it and what have been developed over the years. So this satellite image is also very useful for the archaeology for studies. And forestry, same as the Department of Agriculture Extension use, but in different way. Forestry is using the satellite image to measure the change of the nature, the change of the forest, so they can look what happened to the forest over years. They can planning which area need to be reserved, which area is good, which area is their first priority. So basically forestry use the satellite image for management, uh, planning, to uh, assist in keeping the forest in what is supposed to be. And next is mapping. So for mapping, Mapping is basically the creations of maps. So when you're creating a maps, satellite image also provide you a very good information because it shows the real landscape of the area. And in this case, the military is responsible in creating maps, especially the topographic map all over Thailand, and the Department of Highways, they are responsible in creating maps, highway maps for over Thailand. Okay, let's moving on. Now we're gonna go in the geoinformatics. So geoinformatics, what it is? Geoinformatics is the technology that studies are using the geographical informations. So here is what we talk about the geoinformatics. We have the remote sensing, we have global positioning system, we have geographic information system. So let's start with number one, remote sensing. Remote means from far away. Sensing means sense or acknowledge of fields. So remote sensing means you were able to feel, to learn about that whatever you were trying to without touching it. Next is global positioning system. So global positioning system is the system that locate the positions on Earth's surface. And geographic information system is the system that manage the geographic informations. So further reduce, let's moving on to the number one, remote sensing. So remote sensing is the collecting of geographical data without physical contact. So which means you doesn't need to go to touch or have a physical contact within the object or phenomena that you try to collect the data. You can simply do it from far away. Remote sensing, or what we call in short RS, is focusing on both man-made and nature. So what's a man-made is? Man-made is basically the human civilization. What have we created? The buildings, structure, everything. Those are what we call man-made. And the nature is basically the mountains, the oceans, the rivers, not the canal that humans were created, but those we consider them as the nature made or what exists in by nature. So how it works, how the remote sensing works. So the principles of remote sensing is based on two processes. Number one is data acquisition. So data acquisition is basically the gathering of data, and in this case we focus on the geographical data. So DRS acquire data from electromagnetic radiations, like we mentioned earlier during the satellite image explanation. So what are these electromagnetic radiations? So number one is lights. So lights, the camera use the lens to reflect the light and create photo. So that's what we capture the lights for. And also, lights are the only electromagnetic radiation that human can see. So there are other couples electromagnetic radiation, but only lights are visible to human eyes. Okay, if you can see the infrared, you better call me first. All right, so other types of electromagnetic radiations such as infrared, ultraviolet, microwaves is another EMs that use IS, which is used in create image for other geographic informations. Okay, the data collected by the sensor will be sent to analyze to create a geographic information. So this data we not call information yet, we call it data. So data collected by this source of electromagnetic radiations will be sent to analyze to create geographic information. So do not confuse by the word data and information. Both means ข้อมูล in Thailand, but data means ข้อมูลดิบ information mean ข้อมูลสารสนเทศหรือข้อมูลที่ถูกประมวลแล้วถูกวิเคราะห์แล้ว okay so data is raw data information is the analyzed data okay now data analysis is the second process of the RS or remote sensing. Geographic data can be analyzed by two methods. Number one is visual analysis, which is analysis done by eyes. The analysis focuses on sights, shape, color, form, details, shadows, and location and its relations. So this, for example, you receive the satellite image. You do not use the calculation or analyzation from the computer, but you use by your own eyes. So you take a look on the image and then you try to identify the size of it, try to identify the shapes, colors, form, details, shadows, and location and its relation. So you know that, okay, these locations must have the relation with the other location or how it's related to man and their environment. For example, you take a look in the Bangkok area and you see there are lots of houses and buildings. They are close together. They are quite dense cities, people living in very high density area. And to understand why these locations are having this kind of behavior, so we relate to human behavior. So we understand that human will try to develop within the area that are suitable for growth, such as Bangkok is the center of everything. The powers of the government, everything is in Bangkok, and also it's a headquarters for many companies, which is good for the business area and residential area. So which this area in this city are able to explain that humans come here to live in here because it was the center of their everyday life or what's significant on their life. Okay, so in the earlier slide, I also forgot to mention that the second method is the computer analysis. So they use the computer to input all the data and let it analyze by the computer by using the mathematics and digital process. So now in this slide we're going to talk about the types of remote sensing, which is the aerial photography and the satellite image, which is we have discussed from earlier when we talk about the geographical instruments. Okay, so can you guess what it is? Again, on the left side, this is the aerial photography, and on the right side is the satellite image. Okay, now moving on to the global positioning system. Can you guess what is the acronym for global positioning system? The answer is Global Positioning System, or GPS, is a system that locates the position on Earth's surface. So GPS use satellite, of course, ground station, and the GPS receiver. So let me explain a little bit. So in this case, okay, let's explain the way it's operated in the other slide where we have the example. So GPS receiver will receive signal from satellite to locate the position of the receiver by using the time and position of the satellite to create virtual distance from at least 3 satellites. Okay, so here GPS receiver will present location in latitude, longitude, and universal transverse Mercator or UTM grid. So in this case, it's showing the GPS process. So on the left picture, you can see this is the what we call the GPS receiver. Over here is the satellite, and over here is the satellite dish, which is represent the control on the ground station. So the signal from the satellite sent to the ground station and sent back to the satellite and then sent to the receiver. And why are they doing it? Take a look on the picture on the right side. So picture on the right side showing that there are at least in the picture is 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 satellites, right? They measure the distance of the satellite and the GPS receiver in the multiple satellites, measure their distance and also the time of the satellite when they were detect the signal. And these information that satellite detected, they sent here to the ground station to be analyzed the position of the satellite and then sent back to use this distance to find the location of the GPS receiver. So here, take a look. The picture on the left side is the GPS receiver. So this GPS receiver also has the map in it. So this dot represents the location of the receiver. So in the before this GPS receiver doesn't have an integrated map in their device. They only show the numbers of the latitude and longitude to show the location, and then the user must read these numbers, the coordinates that were provided by the GPS, and find where exactly they are on the map that they read. On the right side, you must be familiar with, this is the application called Google Maps. So Google Map is very famous and popular among the people, the traveler. It were able to tell you where you are. It were able to show the maps of the area you are in, and also that it can be used as navigation. And what is it doing with the GPS? So basically, the Google Map and GPS basically it's not only GPS, but it also an integration of the map. I don't know whether you know this or not, but Google Maps will not be able to use without the internet before until now. So now they have redesigned the program to allow the user to use the Google Maps without the internet connections. So if you were using the old versions of Google Maps, you can still find your location because GPS, the global positioning system, does not require any internet connections because the receiver receives the direct signal from the satellite. However, why you can't use the Google Maps without internet connection? That is because the device, the phone we use today, does not have a collected data of the map. So the map is downloaded only when we were using the application. So it's not downloaded into the phone, but it's only temporarily stored while using the application. So that's why when we travel and the maps keep updating when we're moving along. And you can notice it when you have a really low internet connection. The dots, these dots that represent our location still moving, but you can't find or can see what are the maps or what is the location on the map is showing when there are no internet connection or has a low internet connection, which is making the maps load slower. So in the new versions of Google Maps, it allows you to capture for example, you want to travel from here to here, so it allows you to capture this map and download into your phone. So when you download this map, you can use it without any internet connection because the map were already stored in your phone, and the GPS is still working without the internet unless you were unable to receive the signal from the satellite, which is unlikely to happen because we have so many GPS satellite orbiting around the Earth. Okay, so I hope this information is good for you to know. For those who don't have a good internet connections, or you're relying on a Wi-Fi, if you are traveling somewhere, you can download the maps in your phone and then use it for navigations. Okay, good. Let's moving on. Now let's talk about the benefits of the GPS. So, can you guess or can you think what should be the benefit we receive from the GPS? So I want you to pause the video and then write down the benefit you think you could gain from having a GPS. And if you are finished, then let's moving on. So these are the benefits of GPS that highly benefit within Thailand. So number one is navigation. Like I just talked earlier about the Google Maps application, that application is for navigation, navigating you from point A to point B, navigating you from your current location to your destinations. And the Google Maps also able to tell you where you are. They provide you instruction, what should you do, where should you go, which road should you take based on the map that it's written in the program. Okay, so navigations is one of the biggest benefit of the GPS and very, very popular among humans in nowadays. Back in the time, navigation is quite rare and basically unaffordable because it's so expensive. Only the richest can have. But if you drive a car, the built-in navigation system you can find in a car like the BMW or Mercedes-Benz. But nowadays you can find in very cheap and economical car like Toyota Yaris, Mazda 2, or the car that not so expensive were also to provide the navigations. Or you can even buy a aftermarket navigation system which is cost really cheap, and it's basically integrated in many phones, mobile phones, and so on and so forth. So next is logistic. So logistic, it can use in couple ways. So number one is the company will let the logistic department to calculate the route for best and most efficient route for transferring goods and products, or even the location where should they build the factory, the supplier that were close and logistic effective in buying supply and then deliver to the factories, and then from the factory to deliver the goods and products to the markets. So this is one of the benefits used from the GPS by the logistic. The other is to measure, to find where are the delivering trucks going, where's their current location, what is the speed they're doing, are they going too fast, are they going too slow, are they going their most efficient ways. So that is the other benefits of GPS in logistics. And last one, go back with the navigations. The driver is, even though they learn the route they have to take, but if they doesn't familiar with the route, they can use the navigation system to lead them based on the route decided by the logistic department of the company. Next is tracking. Tracking is one of the benefits of GPS and very to be scared, especially men. I want you, if you have a wife, be prepared for them to plan a tracking application on your phone so they can know where you are. For example, the famous application which is I use, they are called Life 360. These applications will allow the members, such as your families, your friends, your girlfriends, your boyfriends, to see the position of yourself if you carry your phone with you. And they also able to see where are you heading, what is the speed you're traveling. So for example, if the parents want to measure their child, not their child anymore, like their kids with the driving cars, they can also see where they are, how fast are they going. So tracking the device is very benefit by the GPS. And also another, if you are rich and you really care about your pets, you love them so much, they are part of your family, and you're afraid someday they might get lost or accidentally being away from you and you can't find them, you can use the tracking devices that to locate the GPS receiver on their collar or even embedded inside their skin to find where they are. So it's very useful for tracking, or even for the police to reclaim the lost property such as car, phone. If the thief steal from you and you plant this GPS receiver within, so you can track down where your car is, where your phones are, so the police are working much easier in retrieving these stolen properties. Okay, next is land management. Again, land management, they can use the GPS to locate, to create a perimeter of the land. For example, if you are owning the lands but you don't really know what are the borders of the land you own, so the land department, when they measure, they not only measure by eyes and ground devices, they also mark in the GPS coordinates to create a border in the map using the locations of the coordinates provided by GPS. So you can have a very accurate information about the borders of the land you own. So that is very benefit by the GPS. And also, if you didn't know, you can try to use the GPS device to create the map or mapping the land for you, so you know what is the land you own very easily. But at least you need to able to read the coordinates correctly. And for other managements of land, you can use the GPS to identify what each different locations are, such as in this part of the town, this is the industrial area, the other part of the town is the residential area, and for further, where should you plant the plantation and agricultural sector. So GPS is very helpful and benefit provided by GPS. Next is sport. If you learn to running, cycling, you can use the GPS to measure your activities. How far have you go, which route have you take, and to measure or even see the improvement. For maybe today you can see from GPS you have running for 5 kilometers, and tomorrow you runs again, and then you measure with the GPS, and then you can see, oh, today today I go much further than yesterday, maybe 6 or 7 kilometers. So that GPS is giving benefit for sports. And the last benefits of the GPS they provided have a very significant impact is the agriculture. So like I said again earlier, the Department of Agricultural Extension, they use the GPS, they use the satellite image to what? To create a agricultural map. So the agricultural map were able to tell them the information about which area is growing which crops, which area is owned by who, how many income were they able to make, and what are the differences or what have changed from the past until now, any development, any problems occur. So it's providing them the information they need for the management and planning the policy into assisting the agriculture sector of Thailand. So benefit of the GPS is quite a lot and is really significant on humans' life, especially the Thai people life, because we are now relying more on the technology. Okay, let's moving on. Now we talk about the geographic information system, the last one from the three, right? So what is geographical information system? It is a geographic instrument that use computer tool to what? Oh, before we go further, I want to mention that if you doesn't know what geographic information system is, it's called in short GIS, which is very popular to call because it's really short and easy to remember. So what does this instrument use computer to? Number one, to input data. So when they collect data, they input into the computer, and then it stores this data collected. When they store data collected, they analyze the data. When they finish analyze it, they were able to present an information, and this information is were analyzed by the computer. From the raw data they were collected, they input, the store, analyze, and present a usable information. So GIS allows for research and present information in understanding about the spatial relations. So spatial is from space. Spatial relations is, like I mentioned earlier, is the relation when we talk about the land, the landscape, the surface, and human behaviors. And it can make us understand what is these lands are, what is these shapes are on the map, why is this a river, is this a house, it is everything we can create, and we can understand also why there were houses there. Oh, there's a road over there, why there are so many houses and residential area were next to the road or rivers. So these GIS information allow us to research and understanding better about the spatial relations. And also, it can be used for efficient management and policy planning, just like the benefits of GPS provide to many sectors. Okay, take a look here. So this is the process of GIS. Is basically this is the element of the GIS. So it's including hardware. Hardware used to be called they used to be called in Thai ส่วนเครื่อง software in Thai for the official word we call ส่วนชุดส่วนชุดคำสั่ง okay some people will call hardware กระด้างพัน and software ละมุนพัน but that is just some jokes they call does not exist. Like I said, the official word for software is ส่วนชุดคำสั่ง and hardware is ส่วนชุดเครื่อง but due to it's quite hard to remember, we will use the English word to call them for hardware and software. So what is it exactly the hardware is? Like I said, when they said ส่วนเครื่อง meanings, it's talk about the computer, the processing unit, everything in the case, such as the mainboard, CPU, the video graphic card, or RAM, storage, everything, printer, the monitor screen, mouse, everything that were used as part of the computer that you can touch, that is hardware. But the other parts of computer you can't touch, which is software. Software is the program that were written or were created to be used within the hardware, which is computer. And this software is part of digital data. It's digital. The computer language is digital. They speak by the binaries, which is using the number 0 and 1 to communicate and create the electricities to transfer things around the computer. That's how they travel. Okay, so next is the methods. Method is like the way you do it, the way you approach. Those are methods, the way you choose to do it. And data is basically what you gather from other instruments and then you input into GIS. So the last part is people, and also the most important part of the GIS. These 4 elements cannot be here without the help of the people. So basically people or human, in Thai we call บุคลากร. So people, they gather data and then they input these data into the computer. Okay, they also written the software and then they put the software in the hardware. They design the software and they input data in the software, right? So when they input this data, they chose the methods. What would be the methods for calculations or what they want to achieve afterwards. So the outcome, the output is the information. Sorry, really hard to write with the mouse. Okay, just see this word is information. So these are the outputs of the GIS, and not only it can produce many types of information and also can be shown in the same times. So here is what I am talking. This is, if we take a look at the real world, the bottom one, right? So this real world is basically what actually the world are presenting in. What can we see in the world? So the GIS consists of many layers of information that we input the data, it analyzes into each type of information, and it can also be used in the same time to create what's so called the real world. For example, if you want to find a street, you click here on this layer to show the street. If you want to take a look at the elevation of the area, you click here. And also these GIS can be used by many organizations, many people. For example, okay, for the police use, they may put the criminal records in this area, right? So when they click here over this street, oh, it says there are multiple criminal activities, multiple criminal records from the fighting report around maybe 8 o'clock at night, right? So when the police know that this area is, what time is, what location it is, they can choose to send the patrol to patrolling around this area for provide more safety and prevent further criminal activity to occur within this risk area. Or for example, in this street have lots of accidents, and when you click here from the recording data show multiple accident, especially car accident, because it was the intersections, and the time of accident is very close, and there are so many accidents within one day and throughout the month. So they can put the traffic lights or the survey camera, the CCTV camera, to watch over here to analyze further details and apply the lights to control the traffic to prevent the accident to happen. Okay, so this is what you look like, what the GPS look like. You can see there are multiple layers put in together. You can select to see only one information or multiple information at once. That is the benefit. It's the magic of the GIS. Okay, so benefits of GIS, like I said, this is the more concluded one. So the benefits of the GIS, number one is the information storing system. So the map, if we print the map or you draw a map, it was able to use only that information were printed in. You cannot add more information. You have to create another completely new map. And the information you able to find cannot be stored in the map. You can write on a map, but yes, if the map's gone, that's gone too. But the information storing system of the GIS, which is the computer, you are able to store many different types of informations and data. It's allow easier access. And then when you have this storing system, it was able to produce the spatial information. So you can know about the space, the lands and surface of the earth. It provides lots of information. It's able to produce this information from the information that they were stored or the new inputs of data. Next, it's provide convenience and quick information. So from the map, you have to open the map, you have to look at the legend to understand what is this, and then to compare with another map or another picture or photograph to see whether what is the detail on that map. But for GIS, you just click in either is an application or the computer programs. You can access the information very conveniently and very quickly. Next is up-to-date information, like again. So when we talk about a map, it's already printed. You want another map, you have to create another map and print it out again. But for the GIS, you just input the data and then it will analyze, will calculate and update the new information you just put it in. So very up-to-date information, hard to miss, and you can keep up to the world very easily. And last is quick analyzations. So before, if we don't have the computer it's already have the written program. So we already preset in the program what you want it to do, what you want it to find. So what is this value is means. Computer knows it and remembers it and is able to process and analyze very quickly. But compared to human, if you are able to receive the data, geographic data you collect by your devices, you have to analyze by yourself or multiple people analyzing. It takes at least hours, days, or even month. But when the computer is already have the stored data that were preset by the programmer to let them think and analyze based on each different values, creating them a quick analyzation. So these are the benefits of the GIS. So that's it for today. I want you to conclude really quick. So geoinformatics are basically including of these three: DRS, remote sensing; GPS, the global positioning system; and GIS, the geographic information system. For the DRS, it's basically the collecting data without physical contact, which can be done by the aerial photograph using airplane or aircraft to take a photograph of that area, or to provide the landscape, to provide the information of that area. And also it's focused mostly on nature. So In DRS, basically what we study is we try to study about the nature, the chain of the nature, which is we study the before and after, like the satellite image I showed you earlier. So it sees that what happened to both nature and men from before and after presentation. And also for the IS, it uses satellite and aircraft. Okay, so that is two very easily summarized about the RS. Next is the GPS. So it focuses more on man and man-made. For example, let me ask you a question that if there were accident and you want to know where the accident is or to understand about the accident, which you are going to use a GPS or the RS? And the answer is definitely the GPS, because GPS, if you can see what we locate, what we shown in the GPS, we try to locate all the man-made things. We don't measure all. This over here is a tree, but we calculate, oh, this part is the building, and this building is such as like a Siam Paragon or Icon Siam, right? So we focus more on man and man-made in the GPS department. And also GPS is mainly used to locate the position, and the way they use the satellite in conjunction with the GPS receiver. And the last one is the GIS, which is basically a software in the computer software. It input data, store data, it analyze data, and then present into the information, which is using computer to do it. And it also provides integrations. For example, we integrate a map and then the GPS. What we get is the navigations, which is show you the map and the location where you are and the route for you from your current location to the destination with the instruction telling you how to do it. So that is the integration of GIS, which is very, very beautiful. So if you understand now, since you were here in this part, you must know that geography is telling you more than just rocks or sands or mountains, rivers, but it's let you study about the space, because we have to rely on the space everywhere. If you're not here on Earth, then you're not related to the space. But if you're here somewhere, such as at your home, then you are on that space. So, and that space, that part of the Earth's surface, you have to understand what it is and the condition of. So then you understand why human is creating the culture differently around the world, and that can explain through the geography. With the different area, with the different conditions of the environment, human behave differently. So did you know that for Thai people, why do we like to eat hot stuff, like hot and spicy? Because we live in the tropical area of the earth, which has significantly higher temperature, the average temperature, than the other part of the world, if we're not including the desert. And what happens when we eat this hot and spicy stuff? So you can see that your tongue's out, like, and you're breathing like a dog because it's hot and spicy. But when you're doing that, the bodies create what's so called the sweating. You are sweating to reduce the temperature. So the hot and spices allow you to cool down your body's temperature, right? After you're done hot in your mouth, done being spicy in your mouth, then you will feel a lot better. You feel a lot colder. And that is the process. And due to we living in the basically very high temperature area, we require to be cooled down more often. So that is just the understand why we eat lots of hot and spicy food. Okay, so that's just some example so that you can see that geography can tell you why we as a human behave like we are today, and why do we behave differently around the world, why we're not the same. We are humans, but we're not thinking the same, we don't have the culture the same. So geography can tell you everything, make you understand more about the relation between man and environments. So Q&A time. If you do have questions, please post your questions in the box provided within the Google Classroom. Okay, and I am very thankful for your kind attendance that you come to this class. This geography class is very welcome and very thankful for your attendance. And hopefully you get the information you need, you get the knowledge that you're supposed to do to be able to understand in the aspect of geography. But this is just the second week, we still have more to go. And next week when we seeing each other, we're going to talk about the earth physical, the physical of earth. So you will understand more what what are the earth we are living on. And if you have questions or suggestions, feel free to put in the Q&A box. And I have to end the class today. This is the time to go, and I hope you be safe. I hope you uh, be fun in the times you have for the day. And thank you and have a wonderful day. This is Teacher Parichayasak. See you again next time.